the album Open Up and Say, oh, classic album by Poison, one of the hair metal classics, boy. We're talking about the fruition of hair metal, man. It blossomed in the late 80s big time. Winger, Warrant coming out. Warrant coming out in the summer of '89 with Down Boys. Yes, down, down. Remember how the guitar, the explosive guitar, just went off like a nuclear reactor in a meltdown, man. Boom. Yes, I love it. Hair metal. Poison, Your Mama Don't Dance on my fancy playlist of March 18th, 1989 at number 6. Poison's first really big hit. It was Talk Dirty to Me. That was arena-sized rock and roll. They hit the ground running, baby. They hit it running. And then they came out with I Want Action. Remember the lovely a cappella part and I Want Action. It was Bret Michaels and some other guy that were singing, I want action tonight. Satisfaction. And then the guitars came storming in. The floodgates burst wide open. The rock and roll Nirvana. Straight up. And straight up to rock and roll Nirvana. Poison. Then they came out with, it was I Won't Forget You. It's kind of a power ballad. Back in the fall of '87, that was top 20 for Poison. And then they came out with Open Up and Say, Ah. Guess who's going to produce that album? Paul Stanley. He was first up to produce it. But he had Paul Stanley of Kiss. But he had scheduling problems. And they got another guy to produce the album named, this guy was legendary behind the scenes. You never heard of him, but behind the scenes, I mean, in the music world, this guy was a sought after rock and roll producer. His name was Tom Werman, Werman. When Tom Werman was artist and repertoire at Epic Records, he signed to Epic, REO Speedwagon, Boston, Cheap Trick, Molly Hatchet. If you're a hard rock fan, but you're going to love Tom Werman. Although he came under criticism because a lot of his production was really clean, not really raw, just maybe processed, clean. But I mean, come on, it's rock and roll, man. Doesn't matter. Still rock and roll to me. Billy Joel, he had it down. He knew all about it. Still rock and roll to me. And he went independent producer. He went independently at producing in the early '80s. Tom Werman, he produced this album. Produced some things by Crocus, too. Worked with Ted Nugent. He was just all over the rock and roll heavy metal map. Tom Werman produced this album, Open Up and Say, Ah, first single, Nothing But a Good Time. Yes, indeed. That was one of the hard rock, good time, have fun rock and roll anthems. Summer of '88, and then there was Fallen Angel and Every Rose Has Its Thorn. That was a powerful record. That was a ballad of sorts, written by Bret Michaels. The story, supposedly, Bret Michaels was seeing he was going out with, well, let's just say he was going out with an exotic dancer at an LA nightclub. I mean, these guys ain't got around, man. God knows what was going down behind the scenes, backstage after the shows. And boy, if those hotel rooms, if they could talk, boy, I'm sure they could fill up well, anyway. But Bret Michaels seemed to be, he was serious about this girl. Poison, they were playing a show in Texas, Dallas, Texas. They're playing at a place called the Ritz, a cowboy bar. After the show, Bret Michaels, according to legend, called his girlfriend in Los Angeles at her apartment. And while he was talking to her, he could hear a man's voice in the background. Oh, boy. Well, there goes the neighborhood. Somebody was cheating. Bret Michaels was very unhappy. Supposedly went to a laundromat with an acoustic guitar and wrote Every Rose Has Its Thorn right there. The song after that, Your Mama Don't Dance, which was originally done by Loggins and Messina back in the winter of '72 and '73, their version went to number Number 4, the interesting thing about this, and Poison, they kept to the spirit of the original version. This record was about the rock and roll revolution of the 50s and 60s. This was when teenagers, well, a lot of them were rebelling against their parents, against the dating curfews, and getting caught making out in the back seat at drive-in theaters. I know it's not a big deal now. I mean, it's not a big deal these days, but back then it was. I mean, the parents hated rock and roll. In the 60s, you could hardly find anybody over 30 who liked rock and roll. Maybe some of the Beatles, the Beach Boys, but Janis Joplin, Amboy Dukes, Cream, forget it. Believe me. Anyway, this is Poison at number 6. Your Mama Don't Dance on my fantasy playlist, March 18th, 1989.